Welcome back to another episode of Away and Abroad. I hope you're having a great Tuesday so far. When this drops, it'll be just starting, depending on where you are in the world. That is, caveat there. Today, I'm excited to have another guest on the show. Sean Huncherick is my Instagram friend, and he was a guest that immediately came to mind as someone who I'd want to talk to on the show. He's constantly in a different country every time I look at his Instagram stories. So he is across the world currently. We just had a fantastic conversation, and I hope you enjoy his advice and stories he had to share. All right. Well, welcome to Away and Abroad. Today, I'm joined by Sean Huncherick, my Instagram friend, who is joining from Ukraine.
Not quite actually. I'm in Poland right now,
Okay.
but I'll be in Ukraine probably on Monday. I
Okay.
end up staying in Krakow a couple extra days, and so yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I love it. Whenever I see you on Instagram, I'm like, you're just always somewhere new. So, which I love
that's
seeing.
pretty accurate. It makes it really funny, like when I talk to people and they're like, I don't know. I talked to someone the other day and was asking like if I'm how Finland is, and I was in Finland a week and a half ago, but like I've passed through a lot of countries since then. And now I'm in Poland, and yeah, it'll be Ukraine again coming up, which I'm very excited for.
Awesome. So, how many countries have you been to total?
I think so. When you sent that, you sent me a question about that. I had to calculate it. I don't honestly know. I think it was like about 35 when I stopped to track them. Um, admittedly, I don't count them as much. Some countries that I was in, but I was there for like 3 days in the capital, and then other ones where I was there for like 3 months, and yet they're both still the same number. Which is
True.
yeah,
It's funny because since your lifestyle seems to be so much about travel, it's like so different from people who kind of have a laundry list or a bucket list of places they want to go. It seems like you kind of come and go to many places. Because it's
yeah,
like your lifestyle of doing so, would you say?
yeah. It's like today, like I'm still working, and so I've been in Krakow today, but like I haven't done anything like super exciting normal stuff. Like it's just been going to my favorite cafe, or last night I was out at a gig that was really, really fun. Just at like this art collective type space, and then stayed out until 5 a.m. hanging out with random people, and then woke up this morning. But like days like today, like I'm really moving very slowly, and it is just the lifestyle. Like being homeless does make it a lot easier to just make things up as you go.
So what kind of propels you to like choose the next place or know how long to stay in any certain area?
There's a few factors that come in. One big one, because right now I am at the end of my time. I can stay in the Schengen area of Europe, which for those who don't know, that's like but if you're from the US, Canada, UK, Australia, whatever, you can usually stay in Europe for 90 days within a 180-day time period. Right now, I am coming to the end of my 90 days. I think in 4 days I'll have reached that, at which point I need to leave Schengen. And then when I'm in Europe, typically to leave Schengen, I'll have a list of countries I can go to. I can go to Morocco, I can go to UK or Ireland, Turkey, um, some of the Balkan countries. But in this case, Ukraine, I knew, is a country that I've been wanting to go to for a long time. It is outside of Schengen, and it also happens to be very close to where I was as I was kind of wrapping up my time in Schengen, which was the Baltic states, Finland, and now Poland. So it made sense. I try not to fly very often, also. So because of that, the country I leave when I get out of Schengen, if possible, if it's one I can reach just by bus, that's great. But it really fluctuates, like how I decide like where to go. Other times, I mean, there have been so many times where I literally had no idea where I was going to be like that weekend, and then I don't know, I might have like a random friend message me, inviting me over to a festival, then deciding like, yeah, actually, I will fly to Amsterdam for Pride Fest. Like, sure, that sounds great. That was really fun. Um, not what I planned, but yeah, I do change plans a lot too, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned you in your notes you started traveling since March 2022, and
Yes.
this seems to, and your home base is in Columbus, Ohio, would you say?
I Not really.
Okay.
It's where my family's from. And I
Hmm.
have visited Columbus since then. I would say for home base, like I've returned about equally to Columbus, Cincinnati, and Utrecht in the Netherlands. Those all kind of feel like a cozy spot. But for example, my all my like I have a few of my belongings left over and some containers, and they're at my parents' house, and so that is in Columbus. So kind of my home base, I guess.
So when like people follow you on Instagram or your family, are they just sort of like amazed at like the life you have? I'm sure like does it feel normal to you since you've been doing it for so long?
It definitely feels honestly about as interesting or exciting to me as it did 3 years ago. Um, because I'm still going to a lot of new places, and even when I return to familiar places, it's still fun and exciting to me. For friends and family, I don't know. I think they've just kind of accepted that like it's a part of just how I live. I think maybe like the excitement from it, I feel like probably wore off a while ago, I'd imagine, for some
Hmm.
other people. But for me, like now it's still really fun.
Especially since it seems like you have kind of a global community where people can just like reach out
Yeah,
and be like invite you over and it just sounds so fun and spontaneous.
I love it. Like that is the thing, is that it is a global community for sure. Like when you start traveling and meeting people, you experience some of your best times together. And then it makes sense too that you get to know people really quickly. Like if you're staying in a hostel, or if you're staying in a place where like people know that you're only there for a limited amount of time, you really do get to know them on a much deeper level pretty quickly. And it makes it so like when they offer me a place to stay, like if I visit their country, or if I just want to hang out with their friend groups or whatever, like I say yes to a lot of that. And it makes it too though, so that like when I look at people that respond to anything I share, they're from all over the place. Like there's not really one country where I feel like most of my friends are from at this point, and that makes it pretty fun.
That's awesome. When you go to places like, so you're heading to Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about like kind of on a global level, like in America, we get sort of information kind of fed to us in one way. And I'm wondering what is like the narrative you found that may be contrary to what Americans kind of understand about our international relations. And I know this is a big question. So, like anything that comes to mind,
Yeah.
but I guess especially with Ukraine and the ongoing war there.
It's interesting. Like I'm really privileged that at this point, a lot of the issues I see around the world, that I focus on, come from people I've met in these countries or in these places. Like yesterday, I was again going to a punk gig in Krakow, and I met a guy from Ukraine who, is like just telling me all about like the history of like hardcore music and indie and alternative and all these other genres happen in Ukraine right now. I had no idea there are still gigs going on right now in Ukraine. That's information I get from somebody living there. So in the same way, though, when I hear about, I don't know, the rise of a far right movement in Ireland, or about topics within, I don't know, any country really, like pretty often I get it because I'm talking to people from there. I'm learning from them. I'm seeing what they share online. I'm following those sites as well and those pages. And it gets me a lot more firsthand accounts of what's happening. Um, for Ukraine, for example, I would say one of the most influential sources of news I got from that was like this animal nonprofit that I started following back at the start of the invasion. And I don't know, I donated some money and then kind of thought like, cool, I can watch and see like where all this money goes, and happy stories of all of these animals now because I'm helping save the day or whatever. Um, and then I've continued to follow them, and no, like things are still really bad in a lot of places in the country. I'm still getting to follow that one and follow the story through an animal nonprofit. Like that's telling me more. Palestine, it's following some influencers from there that I I do like. Following news is also important for sure. Like I think people should be reading the news from different sources, um, especially ones that are outside of the country as well. But then we're at a point now where there are enough accounts of what's going on in the world. If we look at the people most impacted directly, we're a lot more likely to get a bigger picture of the needs that you're probably not going to hear if you just listen to the news or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Some more like on the ground firsthand accounts for what
Yeah,
like, and then you're able to capture more nuances, obviously, too. So are people more like
definitely.
wrapped up in politics in other places, do you find? Because I feel like America is so polarized, especially right now. And I just wonder, like, as an American being abroad, is it like refreshing to not have to be so like um I mean, yeah, like it's important to be informed, like you said, but also it seems like you have to pick one side or the other. And yeah,
I mean, I'd say it's not as like one side or the other, I guess, because US obviously has a two-party system and that's its own thing. But I would say I'm talking as much about politics everywhere else I go. Like I never shy away from it. Especially when I meet people, like pretty quickly, I tend to find myself having conversations on local politics or what's going on. And a part of it's the place I hang out in. I know if I hang out in some weird artsy circle, I'm probably going to be around a lot of the same people with a lot of the same concerns, whether I'm in Colombia or if I'm in Croatia or Ohio, wherever it is. And also, unfortunately, especially at this point, I mean, US politics are really influential everywhere I go. Like, there is hardly a day that I go without seeing Trump's face, or when I meet a stranger, when I meet someone for the first time, and they realize pretty quickly I'm from the US, like, inevitably a conversation point comes up of a, like, oh, so what do you think about Trump? Or something, because people are interested and they're also understandably concerned because US politics are pretty terrifying.
yeah,
So are rises of far right movements in so many countries. Like I was talking to the band last night that I saw are from Brazil and talking about like Brazilian politics with them. It's in some ways like an even more chaotic version of the US. Maybe not even more chaotic as much as just like a lot of the things that happen in the US happen in Brazil as well. And yeah, so I mean, like I
yeah,
don't think that leaving the States has made that any less of a conversation point. In
sure.
fact, I might get it even more now.
True. Yeah. No, that's such a good point. And one thing I realized when I went to Paris a few years ago, it was right after the pandemic. We were still kind of in it. It
Yeah.
was like 2021. And there was a bunch of people like, Parisians like to protest. And there was a bunch of people who like were anti-vax, anti-mask, and all of that. And so
Yeah.
I
Oh,
found it,
absolutely.
yeah, I found it kind of like comforting in a way. I'm like, okay, like we're all the same. And like we're all
Absolutely. In the best and worst ways, like you're gonna run into a lot of the same people.
Yeah. Well, and that's also like I feel a little bit like convicted in a way where I'm like, yeah, politics isn't something you check out of. It's always like
No,
everyone is fighting for rights anywhere. So,
absolutely. And I think that you should be mindful wherever you're traveling of what people there are going through. You should be mindful of how tourism impacts the economy and how it impacts people you're around. You, I don't think need to shy away from it. But I do
yeah.
think that approaching it with a desire to understand
Hmm.
even more than to be understood is an
Hmm.
important thing. I think trying to figure out like, all right, what's going on with these people I'm talking to and treating them as individuals because like you said, like you're in Paris and you see like anti-vax protests. That does not obviously mean that Parisians are by and large, or were by and large anti-vax, anti-lockdown, or whatever. Um, there are a lot of Parisians with different views, but you still listen and you see like, oh, okay, but there's still the full scope of beliefs in everywhere I go, pretty much. But yeah, I really do learn a lot just from engaging in those conversations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you bring up a good point too about like movement, like as a tourist and like as a white male, like you're able to move through
Yeah,
countries in a different
absolutely.
in a different way than
Totally.
someone who's maybe
Privilege is,
female or person of color. Yeah.
yeah, privilege is really fun. Like it makes it a lot easier to move around. I fully get it.
Mhm. So what would you say to people like kind of like going to other places, like how can they be culturally aware? And an example of this is like what I noticed when I went to Oaxaca, Mexico, was
Yeah,
it was starting to gentrify because so many people had like visited, and so now it's like getting a little bit expensive
yeah,
for people locals. And then I also think of Hawaii too, right? Like it's expensive to
totally.
even for natives to like live on the island because of the amount of tourism. So yeah, just like what, how can we be like aware with our privilege and to be like a considerate tourist?
Think about that a lot. I'm in Krakow right now, and that's definitely a city that in the last couple of years has gotten way, way more expensive. Housing especially is pretty out of control. Ireland's one of my favorite places. Galway is phenomenal, but I also understand the housing crisis there is insane. So there's a few things though that I do think that travelers can do. Um, for one, avoiding Airbnbs. Like I get it. It's really nice to have your own space and just kind of feel like you get to live like a local kind of deal, but like a lot of those are more harmful as they take up a lot of the properties. You're going to make more money renting out an Airbnb probably than having the typical local renting this apartment. I think it's also realizing like as much as you love some of the places you visit, that doesn't necessarily mean that as a guest you can just overstay. Let me back up too, like because there are a few better things too. I think paying attention to what restaurants you're going to. I think investing in local art scenes, finding ways to support people instead of going to some brunch restaurant that serves like a 15 € eggs Benedict that you can get in just about any city you're in. If you're in Oaxaca, like find the small, like off the beaten path places that some of them might have good Google reviews. Maybe go to those ones, but also just go to random ones sometimes that you're going to get a more authentic take on whatever's from there, and your money is going to go actually to them. Typically, those restaurants are also a lot cheaper and they're more interesting to me. As in Porto, I think it's like one of the best examples. Porto in Portugal is one of my favorite cities, but it is one where yeah, the properties get bought up by a lot of people from US, UK, other countries where it's a lot more affordable to live in Porto than it is to live in London. And so it makes sense that people would move there for it. And I think you can do it in a way that if you're investing in the community, hopefully you can see the benefit of it. But it really does go on where you spend your money, who you support there, and yeah, just celebrate it, but
Yeah.
be mindful.
Hmm. Yeah, my brother-in-law is from Mexico, and he was saying that like the street vendors and the street food is like so much better than
Yeah.
restaurants
Oh, it's so
because
good. It's
yeah.
so good.
Yeah. And I think part of that has to do with like regulations. Once you're in a restaurant, then there's, like this recipe must be made exactly the same way. And if you're like buying from a street
Sure.
vendor, it's like maybe a little different every day because it's like something like when you make your own food, it's like maybe a little bit different. And so I think it's just
Right.
a little bit more, yeah, personal in a way too.
I love it. And also, pretty often the street food I see in different countries is more unique or it's more interesting. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, you can have like a falafel kebab in anywhere in Europe and they're delicious. It's like one of my favorite late night foods. But I also love just seeing, like, all right, well, what's the food you get at like 3 a.m. somewhere? That sometimes is different in each place.
That's cool. If you're comfortable sharing, like, what do you do for work? And like, for anyone curious, like, how
Yeah.
is this possible that you can just like, go here and there and sustain yourself?
Yeah. I've had an OnlyFans for the last three and half years, and just like my feet are pretty good, so like that's worked out really well. No, actually, I have not done that. But instead, I write for a living. I've been working with agencies and creating content mostly for business leaders. So I think in a couple hours here, I have an interview with an interior designer. I'll interview them. I'll write like a 300 advertorial story that goes to like the regional subscribers of magazines. And for the most part, that's been my bread and butter for the last 3.5 years. But really, anytime someone pitches me something for a writing or a design gig, I say yes to most of them just because I want to keep traveling.
Mhm.
And as a freelancer, I mean, really, that's my only way I'm going to make money is by either people finding me, or to be honest, I don't find clients very often just because I've been really fortunate that work has come my way.
That's awesome.
Word of mouth is good.
Yeah, at this point, people kind of refer you and stuff. Did you ever use sites
Yeah,
like Upwork or anything?
so my background before I started traveling is I was a creative director. And when I was a creative director, I actually would use Upwork and Fiverr quite a bit to find talent. I haven't done it on the other side. I've debated, and if I like, I don't know, if I suddenly stopped receiving work from my clients or needed to find new work, I'd say, well, and granted, I haven't looked at it in the last couple of years, but yeah, like Upwork would still probably be my go-to, and that's what I recommend people that are looking to start freelancing is to find a niche, find something that you can write about particularly well, get on Upwork, um, realize that it does take time to build good relationships with some clients, but I think it's a good starting point. And
Yeah.
like I said, like I if I stopped getting work and I needed to find a way to earn a living, I'd still definitely look into it.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. What is like the hardest part about like your lifestyle and about traveling for you personally?
Oh man, there are a few different ones. I'd say, to be honest, the biggest thing, I'm not gonna lie, is my cat. I have a 17-year-old amazing cat that my ex is taking care of, and it's her cat as well. Like, and she's phenomenal. We're great friends. Hi, Marissa. Um, but I know that like I only see this cat like maybe once a year, and I miss him a ton. But also like I do have like other people and like my family obviously too, like realizing like your parents are getting older and you're not around and that's hard. Realizing now at this point my friend circle and my friend groups are scattered throughout the entire world and I constantly am going to have that sense of missing them. Like I don't know the next time I'm going to be in Paris to see my friends, or I don't know the next time I'm going to be in, I don't know, Copenhagen. I've been meaning to go to Copenhagen for a long time because there are people that really care about there, and I want to see them. I want to go back to Colombia. I also want to see Southeast Asia, and then you start to realize you're so scattered, you can't do everything. But also, you've planted so many like seeds in these friendships that you don't have time to grow all of them, and that's really hard. Whereas when I'm staying in one place, if I'm living in one area, I'm going to the same cafe regularly, I'm interacting with the same people consistently. That is a different type of life that is really special and really good. But that having traveled so much, like I don't even know where I'd put my roots. Like there are a lot of places I would love to spend way more time in. And it's rewarding, it's fun, it's exciting, but that is also really hard to see. You
Yeah.
start to really care about so many people and genuinely care about them, and then you end up, not being able to see them again very much.
Yeah. It's
But
like
again,
such
most
a
of my cat.
bittersweet.
That's the staying is the big one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I mean, I can kind of relate in a tiny bit. When I lived in New York, for 10 years, I felt like the
Yeah,
most
you don't live in
like I was
wait, you don't live
missing.
in New York anymore.
Oh no.
You don't live
Yeah.
in New
So
York anymore.
no,
Oh,
I
okay.
I
Yeah, we need to
moved
actually like
to
properly catch up in
I
general.
know. Yeah, I moved to Minneapolis, I guess last August. So
Okay.
just to kind of like take a break. And with New York, it was like my community kept changing and kind of turning over in a way because it's a transient place, and I like
Yeah,
love the
totally.
city and like would live there forever if I could. But I just like needed to kind of, yeah, have a year with like the nieces and nephews and my sisters. Like I just felt like this is a really intentional time for me to spend time with them. So, um, but
Yeah.
but kind of started this podcast as a way to kind of like travel myself and to kind of connect with other
Yeah.
people.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
I love that, but
Um,
I fully get what you're saying there. Like that idea of just taking a little bit of time to
mhm.
reconnect with family or with people you really care about. As amazing as New York is, it's still going to be there. You're still going to be able to jump back in. It is a
Yeah.
really cool place.
Yes. Which reminds me of like when we met like in person for this first
Yeah.
time.
Oh man, that was crazy. That was such a cool thing.
So fun. So I was working in Midtown at the time at a law firm, and I was out for like a walk around my lunch break. And I think I had noticed on your stories that you were like traveling through Penn Station. And then, yeah, I saw you
Yeah.
on the street and I was just like, there's no way. Like I thought I was hallucinating. And then I just messaged you and I was like,
Yeah,
are
that's
you
so
here
cool.
like right now?
And I mean, like, I've had a few interactions where it's just like, okay, it is a tiny, tiny world.
Yeah.
That is definitely one of the most impressive ones to me. Because like we had
Yeah.
never met in person. Like we had been friends online for like quite a while at that point. But like that was the first time we actually saw each other. And it was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, it's like finding your internet friend in person because you're walking around New York. And of course that happened.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, the magic of travel, the magic of New York. It was just so, so cool. And you were so sweet. I think I was moving that weekend and you're like, let me know if you need a hand. I was like, I have
Yeah,
movers, it's good.
absolutely.
But yeah, you're just so kind. So that was really fun.
It
Um,
was. I was really excited like when you pitched this podcast because like that's one of the first stories that came to mind.
yeah. Yes. Has there like does anyone else, any other moment like that kind of come to mind of like in another country?
Yeah, there definitely have been. I still think like I mean that one is particularly crazy. I've had a few other ones. For example, I remember I was in Fez in Morocco and just went on like a sunset hike to like the peak that like overlooks the city. And then as I was walking back to get dinner, this guy like looked over and was like, "Wait, Sean?" It was a friend I had met. Where did I meet him? I met him in Bulgaria in Sofia like a year and a half prior. And I think I vaguely knew that he was going to be in Morocco. I had no idea he was in Fez. Definitely did not plan any of it, but just like walking back from a sunset and seeing somebody you met in Bulgaria, pretty crazy.
Amazing.
And just experiences like that, I don't know, they give me so much life. Like
Hmm.
it's really fun. I've also I had another good one actually. There's oh man, there's so many like small world stories. Morocco in general had a lot of them actually. I don't know what it was, but like I was only in Morocco for like a month and a half and like I had multiple encounters like that. There was another one that was really, really funny. Okay, so I was in Chefchaouen, so like the blue city, and I don't know, I was like going out for dinner with a person I'd met at the hostel. Um, and then while I was there, this guy Clem came in from France, and he had just gotten there, and I very briefly let him know like, hey, like I'm good to meet you. Like I'm actually about to leave right now, but like I'm probably gonna hang out later on tonight. Like if you want to meet up, like that's cool. Um, Decided to exchange Instagrams, and found out that I had a mutual friend with this guy who was a woman from Galway named Rebecca that we had both gone. We came to find out we had both gone on a hinge date with her in different countries. Um, and both of them were really great. I mean, like both of them are really cool people. But it was like the most insane thing. Like, wait a minute, I just met a random person who went on a date with the same person, had the same like really good experience. Um, with
That's
somebody from
wild.
Galway. Like that was super, super funny.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Wow. It's like all roads lead to Morocco.
apparently, because like there were a few stories like that where it's like, okay, you play football with like a friend of mine that I met in Albania and you live in Singapore, or just like everything like that was those moments are really special to me.
Yeah, I love that. So, do you prefer trains, boats, or airplanes?
Trains all the way. I
Yes.
will say though, I do not fully understand why trains are so expensive to travel with. Like I would take trains all the time, everywhere, if they were a little bit cheaper, but pretty often they're more expensive than buses. And so I take buses more than anything else, like
Do you have a
fast ones.
favorite train ride that you've done?
I would say taking trains across Italy was really special. The scenery on the coast is stunning, and I just remember like a couple times like passing through like a mountainy area, then going out and like having a view of the sea. Um, that was really special. Yeah, I think that probably was. How about for you though? Wait, like what's your answer for that?
Yeah, I think I agree. I love trains and then probably followed by a good ferry ride. Like I try to do that
Yeah,
whenever
that's so
I'm like
something.
anywhere. Yeah, it's so awesome.
That is okay, but the ferries, like I will say that is actually a cool one too. Like I oh man, okay, so actually, maybe if I took ferries more, that would become the answer. Because like I just took the ferry to and from Estonia to Finland, and that especially like taking a ferry on I think it was like a Wednesday afternoon, and it was from Estonia to Finland, and there were just a bunch of Finnish people on it doing karaoke the entire time. Like I thought I was gonna get work. It was like a 2 hour ferry ride, so I was like, I'm gonna just sit down, put on my headphones, and nope, there are Finnish metalheads singing Iron Maiden. I guess I'm just gonna experience this instead.
Nice. I love it. It's like calling you to be in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm still going with trains. I'm still going with trains
Okay,
overall.
good answer. Did you have to get your passport stamped like before you went on the ferry, I would assume, when you went country to country?
No, no, as long as it's within Schengen.
Okay.
So for those two, like they're both in Schengen, they're both in the same area, so I didn't need a passport. I don't think I've taken a ferry to a country. Yeah, I've never had to get my passport stamped to get on a ferry.
Okay. Interesting. Because I did when
I
I
have for
went from,
buses for sure.
oh, really? Interesting. Because I
Oh yeah,
did
where were you going from?
for a train ride from Brussels to London.
Yes, yeah, because UK being outside of Schengen, so
Sure. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that was interesting to me because I got there like super early just because, and I'm really glad I did because it was like the same type of check-in as you would for like airport security. I was like, oh, it's just a train, but like it's kind of as thorough as going on a plane.
absolutely, yeah. It's I think for a lot of the Balkan countries, because a lot of the Balkan countries like Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo, all of them, like you end up getting separate stamps for.
Hmm.
But I think it was just like you go on a bus, you give them your passport, they look at it, they stamp it, and then you get a lot of stamps. Like
I
I think,
bet.
yeah, I mean, it's just so many countries like had different ones.
How many times have you had to like get a new passport? Like, have you run out of pages?
I actually haven't yet. I know I'm going to because it's getting pretty full.
Mhm.
And to me, like it's expensive to get a new passport and it's gonna be a process, but like it's also kind of satisfying
I bet.
when I do hit that point. Because I know before it expires, I think it expires in like 6 years.
Okay.
I've
So you
only
have
been
some time.
traveling, yeah, I've only been traveling 3.5 years, and it's already, I think it's probably more than halfway full. So
Wow.
I'm making good progress.
Yeah, nice. Where is like next on your list in terms of like, do you have like big goals or like do you think about travel in that way of like, I got to get to this one place before, too long?
Um, oh man, it is so hard. Like most likely what's going to happen is I'm going to Ukraine. I have no idea how long I'm going to spend there, but say I'm there for a month. I have people I definitely want to see in Europe still. I feel like that's the hard thing is like there are like people I want to see in Europe before I leave, but then I'm like, all right, cool, cool. I'm going back. I need to be in Cologne. I need to be in Bristol. I need to be in I need to do a road trip of France. Like I need to like kind of get a couple places there, but maybe also Spain and Portugal first, and then I can leave Europe and go somewhere else. But that's already like 6 months down the line. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if sometime soon I end up just finding myself in Southeast Asia and just probably because I got stoned some night and then decided to book a ticket and fly somewhere different, which is how I've ended up in a lot of places. So
Great advice.
we'll see. Yeah, it's great. Honestly, it's fantastic. Like one of the things I've really learned is just not overthinking it too much. Like you can book a flight and figure it out when you get there. I don't need to plan very far in advance. I
Yeah.
definitely didn't plan to stay in Krakow for more than 2 days and then figured like I have a friend's birthday on Saturday. I can go to that and then later on I can go somewhere else. Like I very rarely have more than a day or two ahead that I've thought of. But then occasionally, yeah, when I do have like the big international flight, then I kind of need to plan a little bit more to get there. But that's maybe, a few times a year that I need to make the bigger decisions.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's great advice for like I'm thinking about anyone who's like wanting to take maybe that first international trip that they've ever taken, I think not
yeah,
overthinking
totally.
it is a good idea. Just like maybe find different aspects of the country that you like and
Yeah,
then go with it.
I know, I fully agree. So, full circle moment. Krakow was the first city that I started traveling in. I all I knew is I was going to visit two friends of mine that Ed and Kinga. Ed's birthday is actually tomorrow, and so that's part of the reason why I'm here. Um, and they just encouraged me to fly over and just spend some time with them, and then that's about it. I think I had no idea how long I was going to be in Poland. I had no idea if I was going to go where I was going outside of that. But I figured that cool, that's at least like 2 weeks. I could do Poland for that and then see what happens. I ended up only staying in Krakow about a week when I visited that time and ended up going through Czechia, Austria, Slovakia, like all of these other countries. I didn't really plan to, but it's like, it's close by. Or like, very short after I was traveling, like when I was in Czechia, I realized a friend of mine's band was playing in Vienna and then figured like, okay, cool. Like, gotta see little Jesse, gotta see Jesse go play a gig. I'm just gonna go to Vienna now. It was not overthinking it. It was so much fun. It's so satisfying. Um, and as long as you make the most of everywhere you go, you're probably going to enjoy it.
Yeah, just let your curiosity lead the way. I feel like traveling is kind of like getting a tattoo as well, from what I've heard. I haven't gotten one yet, but I feel like once you get
Would
one,
recommend.
okay.
Yeah,
Once you've had one or like done one trip, you're like, yeah, I can do this. Like I feel like it just takes one time
absolutely.
and then a lot of fears kind of
Absolutely.
dissipate.
That's a really good metaphor too, because like, especially like when I got my first tattoo, which I can put this on this clothing rack to show because
Yeah,
it connects with everything. The
perfect.
first tattoo is like, no, I need to get a good one. I need to make sure it's fantastic. And it's of the two cats that Spain. That was his sister Kiku. They're the best cats.
Sweet.
But like the first one, I was like, no, I really want to make sure I get something special. I don't want to get something random. Want it to be good. And then more recently, it's like, hell yeah. I was walking around with my friend in Colombia, and this tattoo parlor like had discount tattoos, and they had a frog ghost with socks on. And like, hell yeah, I want a frog tattoo with socks. Like that sounds cool. And so they become like less, I don't know, like they become ones that you really enjoy and that you like, but you don't really need to think that much. It's just a tattoo that's going to be in the body if you or your body for the rest of your life. It's not like okay, well maybe that is a big deal, um, but they're fun.
Yeah. It's like such a good metaphor for not taking anything in life too seriously.
I would say so because I mean, a lot of life is pretty overwhelming and pretty terrifying. I think the spontaneity and flexibility like, brings a lot of life and joy to something that's otherwise very uncertain and overwhelming. And so I definitely encourage that, like for anyone, just to actually act on that kind of impulse to go somewhere and figure it out and just interact with people and actually talk. have
Hmm.
conversations, and find things you enjoy and actually do them.
Yeah.
And even if it's not travel, because like I will say one other thing too that's probably not entirely attached to what you just said is the idea of you can do all of these like travel-y things in your city. Like I do think that's an important thing to note is the idea that
You don't need to go on some giant adventure to have a lot of these interactions. Like if you just find local community, find a small cafe or like weird place that you connect to, favorite restaurants, favorite places to go out, a park that you like, whatever nature thing it is, like you can find a lot of that where you are. Learn new things. Like you can do a lot of the things that give me a ton of life anywhere that you are. And yeah, that's probably the biggest thing I would encourage people to do.
Yeah. I love that, being a tourist in your own city. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation, Sean. It was like awesome to catch up and so fun to hear about different travels and everything.
Thanks so much for inviting me on this. Again, I'm really excited to listen to the podcast and hear more about it. Like I love just getting different perspectives from traveling. You travel differently than I travel. Everyone travels differently, and it's fun to learn from each other.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right. I'll see you soon and safe travels.
For sure. Thank you. It was good catching up.
And that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. I had such a good time catching up with Sean and just seeing where he was at. Another thing he wanted to mention was that noise canceling headphones are absolutely worth the investment. So keep that on your packing list. Next week, I'm releasing the episode I recorded with a good friend, Eli Rooney, who I met through a drawing group in New York. And yeah, he's such a great storyteller. He has stories from his trip to Hawaii and Japan and Bali. So you're definitely in for a treat. And I'm excited to share that next week.